Welcome to TERRA at Home with your host, Kris Moretti.
Good morning and welcome to TERRA at Home. On today's show, we're going to be talking about adding water to your landscape, and I'm joined by Dunphy from Aquascape Canada. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me again.
Adding water to your landscape is a fantastic thing to do, and it's not as difficult as people think.
No, it really isn't, and they really do make it easier here at TERRA Greenhouses. There's lots of hands-on events that you can come out and learn step by step how to do it with the TERRA staff, and they show you how to get it done easy.
So from small features to what we've got behind us, which is a pondless waterfall, to a full-on pond, there are all sorts of different options for adding water to a space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think ponds are still in fact I know they're still our most popular feature. You get to have a great selection of aquatic plant life, as well as beautiful pond fish, and a nice waterfall kind of cascading into it. It's what most people are looking for, but there's lots of other options available that are slightly less maintenance and can take up a little less space in your garden as well, like the pondless waterfall behind us, or just bubbling things. We call them fountainscapes, but they can be bubbling rocks, they can be brass sculptures or whatever, spitting water, or even urns that just kind of gently cascade water over the side has been really popular for us lately.
You've been working with water features and with Aquascape for many years, so I'm sure you're relatively well versed in the benefits of bringing water into a space. Why would someone, or why should someone, consider adding water to their landscape?
Well, I think it adds tremendous sound and movement to your. If you're shopping at TERRA, you've got a beautiful garden already, but no matter if you have a prize-winning roses or beautiful hostas or whatever type of plants you have in your garden, if somebody comes in and you have moving water, their attention is immediately drawn to that, and it becomes a focal point that you can work off of. So. There's nothing quite like it in the garden, no wow factor quite like moving water, and that sound that you can sit by, relax, have a nice glass of wine, and kind of unwind from a busy day.
So we do things like, as you mentioned already, build a pond events are available at TERRA, where you can come out, learn exactly how to build a water feature from start to finish with other people. And like we alluded to, it's really not as difficult as many people seem to think. And with the Aquascape system, which we sell here, it's sort of a step-by-step system that uses nature's own systems in order to make it easy. Tell us a bit about that and how the ecosystem of the pond is what makes it easy.
Yeah, our philosophy at Aquascape it has always been, for the last 20 plus years, is if you can build a pond that is like a natural pond, if you can make it look and act like Mother Nature's pond, then you'll have a much easier job maintaining it, and it will look more natural too. So in our case, that means having rocks and fish and plants all working kind of in a balance with beneficial bacteria that you can get here at the store that help break down fish waste and decaying plant leaves, and you're really building what, as you said, an ecosystem in your backyard. So don't think about building a pond. Think about trying to build an ecosystem where you have those key components, the fish, plants, and bacteria kind of living in harmony and helping each other grow. And your pond will look more natural, and it will be easier to maintain because it'll be more like a natural pond that you'd see a natural lake or stream out in nature. So.
There's so much to learn about fish and plants. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. We've got all sorts of stuff to talk about that. But you did mention beneficial bacteria. So in any kind of water-based ecosystem, there is naturally occurring bacteria that happens there. But we've got a few products here that can help sort of maintain a good balance and to troubleshoot in the event that things do get thrown out of balance. So let's talk about that.
I think the most important thing people can do is add beneficial bacteria to the pond. So it sounds like something kind of scary to some people, like with bacteria. That doesn't sound like something I even want to get in my hands, but it's all natural, like you say. In nature, wherever you have things decaying, you're going to have bacteria breaking it down. And what we're doing is adding that to the pond. It helps break down ammonia, and it helps break down nitrites that would occur from that decomposition process, and it converts it to nitrates, which the plants absorb, and it helps them grow, and then the fish eat the plants, and the circle of life
So it all
kind
works
of
together.
continues, and that's really what we're trying to grow. So the reason why we have rocks and gravel in the pond is because when we look in our ponds, we don't like to see the black rubber liner or the plastic.
Yeah.
We don't think that looks natural at all. So it looks more natural to have rocks and gravel, but over and above that, all that surface area at the bottom of the pond is where the beneficial bacteria is going to live. And so when you get a little bit of organic debris getting down to the bottom, the bacteria breaks it down in a natural kind of healthy way, and it helps keep the pond naturally clean and clear.
So it not only looks nicer and more natural, but it behaves more like a natural pond that way too.
Yeah. And
One
you
of
can
the-
achieve that,
That's okay.
by just adding that beneficial bacteria a little bit every week in a proactive way will help keep the pond clean and clear all season, rather than waiting for it to have problems and then treat it. Now, of course, if you wait till it has problems, Terra's got products for that too.
That's true. And that was sort of my next point. I think maybe some of the stumbling blocks that people run into when considering a pond or a water feature is that they feel like it's going to be a lot of work.
Right.
But with a regular maintenance schedule that doesn't involve any more than a few minutes once a week,
Right.
you can avoid issues. And actually, a water feature doesn't have to be high maintenance.
No, not at all. And I think proactive maintenance is the key to it. Just keeping on top of it. And it's not difficult. If you use our liquid water treatments, it's just a few squirts in every week, really the 10 seconds worth of maintenance, and maybe every week or two, depending on your backyard and how much stuff you have falling in the pond. We have a little skimmer box that catches all the leaves and debris, so that the vast majority of stuff doesn't go down to the bottom. It ends up at the side of the pond, so you don't need to get wet and get down in the pond. You can, right next to the pond, take out the little basket, empty out the leaves that have gotten in, and put it in. So really, if you get the right system and you maintain it with just a couple minutes of work a week, then you can just enjoy your pond all the rest of the time.
We talked about the pond being an extension of nature and a way to bring nature and an ecosystem right into the backyard. That sounds like something to me that kids would be really into. Do you find
absolutely.
kids really enjoy having water feature?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, my bosses might not like us saying this, and maybe not even Terra, but we sell fish food, and it helps the plant, it helps the fish grow and be more healthy. That's true. But if we didn't feed them, they would eat all the little bits of plant life, like I talked about in the ecosystem earlier. But you buy the food because the kids love it, and the parents love it too. You can train those fish. A quick story, if you got a second. You can train those fish if every time before you feed the fish you clap your hands, or ring a little bell, or do whatever you want. Pretty soon you'll be able to clap your hands and have the fish come to you at the edge of the pond and feed them, and the kids love that, and dads do too.
Sounds like a good plan. Tell you what, we'll learn a little bit more about fish, and maybe if you've got a few more tricks up your sleeve, as well as the plants and how
Great.
to incorporate them into your water feature as well, coming up right after the break on Terra at Home.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.
When we first bought the house, the lawn was nothing but brown. So I called my father-in-law. You know, he's really good with the lawn. He knows exactly what to do.
Well, I told him you're Scott's turf builder. He said, well, I got this other stuff, and I told him, take it back to the store. But some brands have filler, like sand and gravel, stuff you don't want on your lawn. Scott's turf builder is pure food. Every granule's 100% nutrition. You get what you pay for every time. You see what happens, Tim, when you listen to your father-in-law?
All food, no filler. That's the Scott's advantage.
Welcome back to Terra at Home, where this morning we're talking all about water gardening, and I'm joined once again by Derek Dunphy from Aquascape. Thanks again for being with us, Derek.
Thanks again.
We talked about some pond basics, ins and outs of maintenance, and different types of of water features available in our first segment, but
Right.
One of the best reasons to have a pond, and one of the main benefits to having a pond, is incorporating plants and fish into your life. So we'll talk a bit about that.
Great, great.
Plants, of course, being in the gardening season, landscaping your pond or pondscaping can be one of the great joys of owning a water feature. And there are all sorts of different types of plants to choose from, which from a gardener's perspective can be really cool because they're plants that you won't find in your garden that don't exist elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, I find that people get into the hobby for a number of different reasons. Some just because they want that waterfall and the sound. Maybe they've got a roadway and they're trying to get some white noise to help cover that. But many more get into it for the plants, for sure. And some people get into it for the fish, which we'll talk about soon too. The way I talk about plants is making them as a part of an integral part, as I said, of that ecosystem. And I group them into 4 different types to help people kind of get a good selection of plants in their garden.
So different types of water plants serve different functions within that pond ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think when people think about water plants, they immediately think about Ann Getty's water lilies with babies sitting on them. But there's lots more available for sure. Although I usually start with a really nice lily or a lotus plant to give some cover to the water. It actually serves a useful purpose to help keeping the water clean and clear too, because it reduces the amount of sunlight getting into the pond.
Ah, so it actually provides shade to the surface of the water.
Absolutely. So you get less algae because there's less direct sunlight, and the fish like a cool place to kind of hang out too. So it does serve a useful purpose in the pond, as well as being beautiful. So there's lots of different hardy lilies available that are really easy to maintain. So that's the first grouping that I get people to do. And while you're at the bottom of the pond, another useful thing is to have some oxygenating plants.
Okay.
You see them a lot in aquariums, because you're looking at them from the side. Those little, green feathery plants that come up from the bottom do provide a lot of oxygen to the water.
So we should have ideally 2 different types of plants that live sort of at the bottom of the surface, and one being a lily or a lotus, and then the other being an oxygenator?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they provide oxygen and enrich the water. What function does that serve in the pond? That helps the fish?
It certainly helps fish health. It helps water clarity because the algae doesn't do as well in very oxygen-rich water, and it helps the plants too. It helps the other plants. So.
Then, of course, we've got a really big group in plants that live alongside the pond. They help to naturalize the look of the pond, and they often offer some of the most ornamental options as far as plants go. We've got some examples here, and these are marginals.
Yeah, there's lots of examples here. We've got some iris, we've got some taro, we've got some horsetail, some corkscrew rush. All these different things can be planted on the shelf inside the pond. So normally we build the pond with a bottom 2 feet deep depth right at the bottom of the pond. That's where you have your lilies and your lotus. Then we'll come up and then there'll be a shelf around the edge, maybe not around the entire pond, but on one side at least, where you could have some of these marginal plants growing. And like you say, there's lots of interesting varieties to get for gardeners.
We'll talk about techniques of planting in a second, but then we've got one more plant type to talk about, and that's things that float on the surface. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're mostly tropical, and the most common ones would be your water lettuce or your hyacinth. And the hyacinth has a beautiful purple flower that you'll get in really warm summers. Like the one that seems to be coming right our way now.
Yes.
So you'll have lots of hyacinths growing. Something to watch out for there is that they do grow and multiply quickly in warm water. So sometimes a few will do, and let them grow and multiply into your pond. And if there gets to be too many, you may need to thin them out simply by pulling them apart. Each hyacinth plant will have 3 or 4 or 5 shoots coming off of it, and you can clip those off and take out some if it gets to be too much.
So you don't need to be afraid of pruning or paring down on your aquatic plant selection. It's actually probably good for the health of your pond.
Absolutely, just like the rest of your garden.
So bringing marginals especially along the edges of the pond can kind of soften the rock and make it look more a natural part of your landscape. How do we make that sort of blend with the other plants in your garden?
What I really encourage people to do is to make the pond look more natural. And I think everyone's looking for a pond that somehow people think just erupted in their backyard, or they actually built the house around. And to help make that happen, I think if you're going to use a marginal plant like an iris along one shelf of your pond, then get a similar type of iris just adjacent to the pond on the outside. So I talk about blending your aquascape with your landscape, and if you can have similar types of rushes or grasses or irises on the inside and the outside of the pond immediately adjacent, then it really helps to pull the two together, and it really does make it look more natural.
That's a really good tip. Let's move on to the other superstars of the aquascape, and those are fish, of course, and they're
Right.
one of the main reasons many people want to get into building a pond or having a pond feature in their backyard. Of course, the most popular, I think, among them is koi.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why have koi in your pond, and what do they do in the pond?
Well, naturally they're a bottom feeder, so they will go around the bottom of the pond and slurp up little bits of algae and help keep the pond clean and clear that way. But the main reason people get koi is that they're little works of art swimming around in your pond. They really are beautiful, and they come in all different colors. I know at TERRA you'll see some butterfly koi that are beautiful, that have beautiful fins that come off and off the bottom of the fish, and then regular varieties of koi that come in blues and oranges and reds and blacks and whites and all blends of those colors.
Definitely. Are they hard to take care of?
Absolutely not. They're very easy to take care of. Like I said, they'll swim around eating little bits of algae off the bottom, but they're also a lot of fun when you feed them a good quality food at the top. Better quality foods will be higher in protein, and they'll have ingredients that help to encourage their color and help to encourage their growth. There'll also be, in some of them, prebiotics and probiotics, like little bits of yogurt in there that help them digest the food. And the better foods will be more digestible, and you'll get less waste in the pond.
Which is ideal, of course, in that kind of scenario. Aquascape has food that you can buy, and of course we expect that that's of premium quality. Is there a sort of a guideline for frequency of feeding and what to do and not to do?
The main thing is when you do feed them, you don't feed too much. You don't want to have excess food in the pond. So when you feed them, if there's food left over after a minute or two, then next time don't feed them quite so much.
Okay, so they should be able to eat it all within a minute or so.
Absolutely, and a fish's metabolism works in direct relation to the temperature of the water. So when the water's warm, they'll eat a lot. You can feed them every day, maybe even twice in a day. And as the water temperature cools down, then feed them less.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Derek, for some great insight into water gardening.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Join us after the break for some fun in the kitchen with Chef Rachel.
Come and explore the new TERRA, where color lives.
AM 900 CHML is giving you more news when you want it most. Non-stop news weekday mornings 5 till 9, weekday afternoons 3 to 6, with weather and traffic on the 9s. Hear about it first from AM 900 CHML, Hamilton's news talk leader.
Welcome back to TERRA at Home, where we now return to the kitchen with Chef Rachel Johnstone. Thanks for being with us as always, Rachel.
Always a pleasure, Kris.
I'm looking forward to a nice, simple, delicious meal that we can make perhaps to enjoy alongside our fabulous new water feature if we've decided to take the plunge.
Yeah.
So we've got some crabs, some nice stuff going on. What are we making today?
Today we're going to make an open-faced crab salad sandwich.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, so nice, light summer sandwich that you can enjoy any time of the day. Okay, so in my big bowl here, we're going to start off with some mayonnaise and a little bit of Dijon.
Okay.
So I just mix that together, and that's the base of the salad.
Okay.
Okay, so you just want to mix that well. We have lots of nice, fresh, really colorful ingredients here. So it's
Which
gonna...
is always nice. We can use goods from the garden. We've got a nice mixture of fresh veggies, some onion and peppers. So that's going to be wonderful to add.
Yeah, everything here you can pretty much get from your garden, except for the crab.
Yes.
So in this bowl, I have 2 cans of crab.
Okay.
So I just take them out of the can, drain them. Definitely a great idea if you want to use fresh crab.
Yeah.
It's just a little more time consuming, but it would be delicious. I like to barbecue my crab personally, but you can steam it too. There's lots of different ways you can cook it. I usually get the nice big king crab legs and, you know, slice it with my knife down the shell first. So then after it's cooked, it makes it easy to open.
That's a good tip.
You just want to take all the meat out and chop it up. So that's what we have here, some chopped up crab meat.
Okay.
So we're going to add this into the mixture after. But first, I'm going to chop up a little bit of garlic because, you know, garlic's pretty much good in everything, or I like it in everything. So I just smash them up a bit and give them a rough chop. It doesn't have to be finely minced or anything, especially if you like garlic,
Right.
like I do. So just a rough chop, and we'll add that into the mayonnaise mustard mixture.
Okay.
And then I've gone ahead and I've already pre-cut a lot of the veggies that we're going to add to this.
Okay.
So there we go. Perfect.
For you.
We have some celery,
Okay.
just a small dice. We'll add that in. Red onion. So I chose all these ingredients for different reasons. Color, obviously, texture. You know, I like to add in the celery to get that crunch.
Yes.
Gives it a little something different. Peppers, I chose red and orange, again for the color, but any one of your favorite peppers. You could also add in some hot peppers if you,
Oh yeah, that would be
if you like a little bit of spice, which I always do. So we'll mix that all together, and then we have the green onion as well. So I'm going to put most of that in, but we'll save some for garnish
Okay, perfect.
for later, okay? So once this is all mixed, then we can add our crab in.
So again, we've chosen this mixture, like you said, different colors, textures, and that wonderful crunch. But if there's anything in here, of course, that you take aversion to, you can always substitute in a different vegetable of your choice.
Of course, there's so many, you know, there's so many options when you're cooking. I never really follow recipes. I don't necessarily encourage it. I mean, recipes are great to use as a guideline, but have fun with it and make your own.
That's the joy of being a chef, right? You can ad-lib and mix things up as you see fit, right?
Exactly. So we'll add in the crab here, and I think we'll also add in a couple herbs, a couple
Okay.
different herbs too, just to, you know, add to that summer freshness. So
That's a nice fresh parsley. That would probably
Perfect.
be good.
that would be wonderful. And maybe if you have chives over there, we can chop up some of that.
I do. One of the best reasons to have fresh herbs on hand, in my opinion, is that even if recipes don't call for it, if you've got them close at hand, you might think, oh, that would be lovely, and go
Exactly.
ahead and add them in.
Now I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and pepper as well. You always want to season, and you can taste it and add to your liking. So we'll just do a little bit of that, and then we'll chop up these herbs and get them in. Now I also have fresh baguette. So I'd say that the baguette cuts nicely into 4 sandwiches, and then you want to cut it horizontally. So this is the baguette that I have. I've cut into the individual sandwiches and then horizontally, and you can serve each person 2 halves.
Okay.
So that's prepared. We'll chop up these herbs nice and fine.
So we've chosen chives and parsley. Of course, if you have different herbs that are your favorite, you could certainly substitute whatever you like. I think thyme might be really nice in there with some freshness, but whatever you've got on hand that would suit your fancy, I think would be
Right.
delicious.
I think maybe a little bit of tarragon might be nice as well. I always associate tarragon with seafood, so I think that's a good option as well.
Great.
Okay, and chop up the parsley. Now I also have some avocado here that we're going to slice, and some fresh arugula, which you can also get in your garden. And we're going to put this all together and make a sandwich. It'll be delicious.
That looks beautiful. The colors are wonderful, and it looks
Yes.
almost as beautiful as I'm sure it tastes.
A lot of flavors in there. Now along the side of the sandwich, I think that I'm going to serve it with a nice arugula salad.
Okay.
I'm just going to use arugula. It has a lot of flavor on its own, but sometimes I like to add some cherry tomatoes in there or a little bit of shaved Parmesan cheese. Those are both good ideas. So we'll whip up a little bit of a dressing to put on our arugula salad.
And that can be really simple. You can go with a simple vinaigrette. What are we going to make with ours?
Yeah, a little vinaigrette, really easy. Just a little bit of mustard. I always put a little bit of mustard in. And then a couple tablespoons of oil. We'll just whisk that together. And as I've said before on the show, a good ratio for dressing would be 3:1, oil to vinegar. And I have a little bit of red wine vinegar here, so we'll just put in about a tablespoon of that. And then I think it would be nice to add some fresh herbs to our dressing as well.
Sounds good.
Just to go along with the theme. So maybe a little bit of thyme. So it's a simple vinaigrette dressing, but it'll go really nice with the peppery arugula.
Okay, so we'll get those herbs in there, whisk it all together. When we come back, we'll put our sandwich together and serve with our beautiful arugula salad. Stay tuned for more Terra at Home.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.
Welcome back to Terra at Home, where Chef Rachel and I are just getting ready to put the finishing touches on our open-faced crab salad sandwich, which is looking lovely with all sorts of colors. We've got peppers and onions and celery in there for some nice crunch. And we're going to finish it off with a bit of an arugula side salad.
Yes. So I have my baguettes here, so I can open these up and serve, 2 open faces to each person.
Okay.
Start with a little bit of arugula on the bottom.
Arugula I love. It's really easy to grow in the garden, and it adds a wonderful peppery flavor to virtually anything, and it's so easy to have on hand.
Yeah, it is full of flavor, and that's why I like to just eat salads of arugula just by itself, because it has a lot of flavor there. Okay, and then I've sliced up the avocado here, so we're just gonna put a couple slices on each half. Another one of my favorites in the summertime. Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna add one more element of nice color to the plate too, which is lovely.
Okay, and we'll top it up with the crab salad.
Of course, as always, you can find this and all of Chef Rachel's recipes available at terragreenhouses.com. Just click on Rachel's recipes and there you find them.
Great. Wow. We can garnish each one with some fresh chives.
Wonderful.
If you'd like to do that for me.
Sure. You can actually just take a few chive pieces and
Perfect.
drape them on the top.
There we go.
Fantastic. So we made a simple vinaigrette dressing, which we'll drizzle over top of the arugula, and we're all set to go.
Yeah.
Rachel, thank you as always for a delicious meal, which I think would be ideal to enjoy outside this summer. Join us next week for more great tips from the kitchen and garden on Terra at Home.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.